Hey boys and girls, today for writing, I want to talk to you about how we can go back and add a few more things also to some of our pages that are already done. So I want to remind you about punctuation. Punctuation is a different way to end a sentence. You could use an exclamation mark, a question mark. Actually, this is called an exclamation point. Whoo, Mrs. Kimmel's brain stopped working. An exclamation mark. Ha ha. It's called an exclamation point or a period. See, writers make mistakes, they just fix them. Okay, so what I did is I wrote out 2 pages from my story really big so you could see what I'm going to do to it. And actually, before I even do this work on here, I want to show you some parts in Mo Willems' book, The Pigeon Needs a Bath. Mo Willems is one of the best at adding really interesting sentences. He's got short, simple sentences, but they're so interesting. So see right here, he already has like an exclamation point. I don't really need a bath. And look at how the word really is written differently. It's written in what's called italics, which means it's slanty. It's kind of like a bold word, but a little different. It just tells you how to read it differently. It just tells you to emphasize it, say it big. I took one last month. See, another exclamation point. They've just got periods here. I think it was last month. So it's good to have a variety. Here's a question. Here's little words. Clean, dirty, they're just words, right? So he's asking a question here. See how they're changing up their types of sentences? Then he also does things like the bold words. And this is another word in italics. I feel clean. Maybe you need a bath. So a bold word and an exclamation point, right? Yeah, see, another bold word with an exclamation point. When was the last time you had a bath? So this has a question mark and an exclamation point because he's not only asking a question, he's asking it in an excited way, right? A frustrated way. So I'm going to think about how Mo Willems added some ending marks in his story to make it more interesting. I'm going to look back at 2 of my pages. So I really did take 2 pages. I'll swoop you around here. There's my anchor chart over here. I looked at those pages from my story and I just copied them down over here bigger so you could see me work on them, okay? I didn't write anything new. So what you'll do at home is you'll just write right on top of your page or maybe add a sticky note, but I made it big so you could see. So this is my lead. I'm gonna go back and read my lead and see if I could maybe add different ending marks or maybe a bold word or a word in italics or something like that. Okay, on a dark and stormy night, Owl heard a lady cry for help. Well, this could be an exclamation point, I suppose, right? So I can change that. On a dark and stormy night. See, I could make dark and stormy bold, couldn't I? So I'm going to just darken those with a different color here. On a dark. And I'm not going to make bold. And stormy. On a dark and stormy night, Owl heard a lady cry for help. Oh, I changed it up a little bit. I added some bold words and I added an exclamation point. Owl swooped in and noticed she was calling for her lost dog. I will look for her. I will look for her, exclamation point, said Owl. I could maybe even change the word. Maybe I could add a more interesting word. I will look for her, exclaimed Owl. See, when we're good readers, we listen, and some of you guys are really listening to books or reading books that use better words for things instead of just said and went and did. You could say instead of they said something, they exclaimed it, or they shouted it, or they cried it, or they said it. No. They screamed it. They announced it, right? They whined. You can use lots of good words. And if they went somewhere, well, maybe they crawled, or they hopped, or they ran, or they skipped, or they scurried. You could use different words to describe how things move, how things talk, right? Try to use some interesting words. Try to add maybe some dark, bold words, or maybe some words in italics that are kind of slanty, like swooped. I could maybe make that kind of swooped. See, make it kind of, italics are kind of slanty. Swooped in, and notice she was calling for her lost dog. I will look for her, exclaimed Owl. Already makes the story more interesting. Instead of said Owl, exclaimed Owl. Way more interesting idea there. So just look through your writing. If there's a page where you feel like you could add an exclamation point, a question, or a bold word, or a more juicy, spicy word, like instead of said, could you say exclaimed, or declared, or yelled, or announced, or screamed, or cried? Any of those changes that you make, take a photo and send me so I can see how you're taking your writing and making it better, because that's what writers do. They start with something and then they keep making it better. Okay? So I'd love to see that. So just take a picture of any improvements you make. If you can't find any, you could always take a break and work on your illustrations, but I really love to see at least one improvement to your writing. Okay?